I wrote an article for my Goldwing group over in Fort Smith, and I thought I would put it on YouTube as I got a lot of good information, and I think that information is like education, and everybody needs some. So this will be my article on differentials. A differential gear system for us motorcyclists is a gear system that delivers power from the drive shaft to the rear wheel for forward or reverse motion. The dictionary I have did not have a good description of what a differential is. The biggest round gear, let me go. Wrong one, sorry. Now you see this is a differential set. This is called the ring, and this is called a pinion. And you notice that the teeth are angled. These are called a Hypoid Gear cut. They're designed to be very quiet. This one's also cut at an angle. It's hard to see because of the picture, but it is. You can see how this one is cone shaped. This one is a Hypoid Gear cut. They cut them like that because it actually makes the tooth contact longer. Like say, if you have a straight cut gear, you see that these are real noisy. Whereas this design is real quiet. And you get more tooth contact between the pinion and the ring gear. Making them angled like that also makes them longer for more gear contact, for more strength. The pinion gear will mesh in, and there's usually two positions that they put these pinions in the bottom where it has the most strength, or it'll come in at the top where it has the least amount of strength, but you have high clearance. You'll see this in the front end of four-wheel drive trucks on a axle in automotive. I know this is a motorcycle video, but that's to let you guys know about that. The pinion, well, this is a diagram of Honda rear end. And as you see on the pinion right here, it has bearings that support it, but also there's shims that will get the teeth centered. Let me go back to the other one. They use shims when they set this in place that way the gears are centered, and that way they're not too far, in or too far out. That way these have a good contact. They use a swiping motion when they operate, and that's for long life. But they are supported by bearings. The metal of the ring and pinion is usually made of a type of a softer iron metal. That's the gears have to have some give to them as they are subjected to quite a torque load during takeoff. In fact, in drag race applications, the gears that they use are very, very soft, but they have to take an enormous torque load when they're first taking off. The gear teeth are highly polished for smooth operation and long life. For us motorcycle riders, the ring carrier will transfer power only to the rear wheel. On autos, the ring carrier will also have a gear set that will transfer power to both wheels. The housing that the gear set is in has a plug on the bottom. There'll be a plug on the bottom. I wished I had a view of this on the other side, but I don't. There's a plug on the bottom, and there's one on the side. You can see the one on the side right here. This one on the side, it limits you on the amount of oil you could put into that rear end. and that is your level gauge right there. I'll get into that a little bit more here in a little bit. And on top, you'll see right here, on top of the housing is a vent system. Now, Honda made probably the best differential system there is out there on the market. And I recently acquired a motorcycle that wasn't made by Honda, and it had the most dumbass designed rear end. And I'll tell you why here later. The housing that has the gear set on has a plug on the bottom to release the gear oil and a plug on the side to fill the housing up. This will also be the full oil marker. On top of the housing, you'll see a knob that is a ventilation system for the housing. That's very important. As you noticed in the picture, the ring gear is bigger than the pinion gear. And there is the ratio of how many times the pinion gear will turn to make up one turn of the ring gear. To come up with the ratio, one can count the turns of the pinion gear to one turn of the ring gear. Or you take the teeth, count all the teeth on the ring gear, and divide it by the number of teeth on the pinion gear, and that will give you your ratio. This will turn one time, and this will turn, let's say, 4.11 times. You take the number of teeth here, divide them by the number of teeth right here, and that'll give you the ratio. Usually what I do, the lazy way, turn this one time, mark a spot, turn it one time, and count how many times that turns. That gives you a good idea on that. Low gear ratio will give a good top end speed, but are bad for takeoff torque. Example, like a 2.5 to 1 rear end ratio. And a high gear ratio is good for takeoff torque, but bad for top speed. Example, 411 to 1. Gear oil expands and contracts due to heating and cooling. And that's why a vent is needed on the differential. Gear oil is good because it clings to the gear set very well. Gear oil is normally 75W90, especially for Gold Wings. I haven't found any other setup or any other information from the Honda dealer or Honda technicians about using 75/140 weight, which other manufacturers have gone to. And I was kind of wondering about that a lot too. The gear oil, when it gets to moving, when that differential gets to moving inside there, it gets whipped up quite a bit into a foam and it expands. And that reduces the thickness or the viscosity of the gear oil. And that's the reason why the housing needs a vent and extra room to expand. In this picture, if I could show you on the other side, they have an expanded section on the top right here on the Honda differentials. And that's called Headspace, and that's where your foam goes to. That's very important because, like I said, the bike that I bought had which wasn't Honda, had a very bad designed rear end, which they didn't do that. They did not put a vent, did not put Headspace on there. And then they told the customer to never change oil in the rear end. Blindingly stupid, especially from a manufacturer that claims to be smart, but it's not. And that's what I'm here to do, is make you guys smarter. That's the reason why the housing needs a vent and extra room to expand. Gear oil has additives in it. They are anti-foam, which are surfactants, and very important, anti-rust additives. Let's get on to a little maintenance. Differential gears have a break-in time of 500 to 1,000 miles. I recommend changing the gear lube at that time. And most manufacturers will agree that that's the time that you need to change the first gear oil change. And after that, and this is after a lot of research, and pretty much all manufacturers agree, every second oil change you do on the motor, change the differential lube. And that's for maximum life of the rear differential. When I was in sales, I had a bunch of customers that would cuss bikes with differentials. And I would quiz them, and it always came back that the cause was they were too lazy and too dumb to change their own oil in the rear end. And that's the simplest thing in the world to do. Like I said, they were too lazy to do that, and they sit there and they blame it on a good design. You don't be that way. Check your fluid level once or twice a year, beginning of the riding season, to the very end or whatever. Motorcycle differentials are usually built very, very well and set up very well because they're mostly on the bigger bikes, which are mostly for cruising. And it's a good self-contained unit. It's a good way to go. Let's go back to the article. Yes, there's one manufacturer, not Honda, not Triumph, not Kawasaki, who at one time recommended to never change rear differential oil, that it was a forever setup and you should never change it and never have to touch it. And that is baloney. Never, ever, 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 ever believe that. That is super, super dumb to believe that. Differentials have no filter system built into them. So just forget that forever oil change system crap. Change it. After my research, the recommended gear oils and all the oils I've listed are synthetic oils. Number 1 is Amsoil, number 2 is Mobil 1, and number 3 is Motu. So to recap, change your oil after every break-in, and then change your rear oil every second motor oil change. And by the way, it's not that expensive to do that. Make sure your vents are clean and operating. And I've done this before when I've noticed that, like I said, when I changed my Honda's my Goldwing's first oil change in the rear end, I used a little brake fluid cleaner to get at the bottom. You'll get filings, which is metal particles, and you don't want that floating around in that oil because it gets in between them gears and it'll just grind it in. You don't want that. And I take a little brake fluid spray and clean all that out, and then put new fresh fluid in there. But like I said, every second oil change of the motor, change your differential oil, and it's cheap. Also recycle it. Use 5-gallon buckets and dump all your oil into, and you can go to any dealership or auto parts store, and they have a place that you could dump your oil and stuff into. And that's a great way to, help the environment out right there. A lot of guys don't know that. Now you guys do. So anyhow, I hope this has been helpful. Take care of your bike and it'll take care of you. And that's what this was about. So you guys have a good one, and we'll see you on the next video.